Hello. My name is Robbie Fitzwater. I own and operate Marketing Rhythm. We help e-commerce businesses with retention marketing, email marketing, and SMS. So one question we get asked all the time, and we get questions around this topic a lot, is how do we use user-generated content, or what is user-generated content and why is it important? So we wanted to kind of dive into how to use user-generated content in email and why it's so impactful in incorporating into our marketing mix so we can really leverage the trust, credibility, and basically the level of authority we're going to be able to build if we're showing kind of like how it's being used in the wild and how we're kind of like experts at facilitating that process. So, wanting to kind of like dive into this. So, why use UGC in email? Um, this is just basically an expedited process of building trust. People don't buy from brands, they buy from people. And when they see people in the wild using those products and you kind of like showing off the value that they got out of it, or showing people that actually like reviewed this or how they enjoyed the product, it makes that process of building trust and credibility around your specific products and offerings or your business a lot faster. So that acceleration of trust really happens here because they can see themselves in that product or in that use case. And that's what makes it really powerful for brands because, hey, we can do this really quickly, build trust, and also it's really cheap, which is kind of nice. So everybody can generally afford it. So yeah, wanting to understand how to leverage it more consistently. So why is it important? So we talked about trust, authenticity. So how people see themselves using that product, how people see them being able to kind of like visualize themselves in that product or that use case. And that's a really powerful thing because people, again, can't always see what that end goal is exactly going to look like, but they can see how it's going to make ideally going to make their lives better. Also, this user-generated content generally helps to build social proof around a product or idea. People don't make decisions without reviews or some type of social proof. So everybody's been trained to look at reviews on Amazon. If you're making a purchase, you don't make a purchase over $50 without looking at reviews. Most people walk to the grocery store looking at their phones to see the reviews of the products they have in a physical location because they don't make decisions without reviews. This is kind of like reviews in so many ways are like the comfort blanket we have protecting us from the bad product experience monsters under our beds. So we really want to use those reviews in a lot of different ways, but that social proof that they offer really gives a nice way of making people feel safe and confident in those decisions. So reviews are a big deal in building social proof. Also, it helps to build engagement. Engagement in a few different ways, but this really opens a door for a brand conversation to feel like a two-way dialogue, where we can suddenly start to actually use our community to celebrate our brand, but also our brand to celebrate our community. And that's really a great way for, again, that relationship to build and people to build trust and engagement within there. Also, like I mentioned earlier, very cost effective. If you're doing this well and you have, again, time and effort to put into it, it's one of the highest ROI marketing creative pieces you can build because you're not actually creating much of anything. You're leveraging what you already have and leveraging what people are already doing to use them as your creative team. So it's a really effective way to do a lot with a little. And then also in some cases it does have some SEO business benefits later on. So those reviews of products actually do have organic traffic benefits later on down the road. But again, that's going to be something that's going to be beneficial on your actual site and building site credibility too. So how do we actually start to use those in emails? This is where it gets fun. We want to incorporate those customer reviews into our emails. Customer reviews are probably the easiest place to start here. Reviews are simple. Reviews are easy. They're so seamless. And when we can connect the right reviews with the right audience, the same way we would be doing with our segmentation in our emails, we are doing some really great stuff. So if I have an audience who is using XYZ product and I share a review around XYZ product, that's a win. If I have an audience that has XYZ pain point and I share a review about how this product helps solve XYZ pain point, that's going to make it easier for them to visualize themselves in it and also feel confident that that's going to be the right product for them. So it really kind of expedites that process and helps to, again, incorporate. Then we're going to move to social media content. This is an easy place to like go on Instagram and see like who's tagged you on Instagram. Most brands don't even look at like who's tagged them. People are sharing photos of you, likely of your business out there consistently. You might as well borrow that. So borrowing those user generated photos really plays a helpful role in making sure, hey, I can like have free photos and free content that I wouldn't be able to use otherwise or wouldn't know about otherwise by just borrowing stuff that people have already shared, tagging us. So again, making sure you can incorporate that is going to be really helpful. And just again, incorporating that user's handle into the image too, it makes that in the wild feel really wonderful. Like if ask them on social if they mind using that photo for an in one of your emails. And most people nobody's ever going to say no to that. Everybody's going to say, yes, absolutely. That's so cool. Because again, they feel seen and heard when they suddenly see that from a brand, they feel so excited and warm and fuzzy. Even if it's a smaller brand, that's really cool and validating for them because suddenly they're getting noticed by some type of business. So reviews, social media content, we're going to have user stories. Like that's where we can actually like ask for questions, ask for people for feedback. That's a really great way to, again, pull great content from them. And again, use those in our emails or use those in our other marketing content because like, again, their experiences really help to shape and inform how people are going to perceive that product. And it's really just helps to make sure that people feel good about it. Also, one thing we want to do inside of our emails too is we also want to ask for those user generated content. So when we are doing those in our emails, when we can say in an email with like, hey, we'd love to see how you're using this on social, just tag us here. Or like if you share any photos on social, make sure to tag us here. And we would love to see it and also possibly share it with our community. It's a really great way to kind of prime the pump and how to use them in our emails and how to use email to prime the pump of more content being shared on social. So it's a really nice, again, self-benefiting cycle and really nice ways that both play together and really help to expedite that process. And then people can run user-generated contests also, like again, contests for sharing photos. And one nice part about that sharing user-generated contests is the benefit we have there, again, for our marketing that we own, but also their marketing for us. We're piggybacking off of somebody else's network in that case, where we're not the ones working to acquire new customers. They're helping us acquire new customers. And when they see that social proof of, again, one of their friends suddenly sharing a photo of them, of your brand or mentioning your brand, it's a really powerful value proposition for them because, hey, like suddenly my friend who I know, like, and trust is sharing this, there must be something to it. So that's just an expedited way of, again, using user generated content in your email and using your email to drive more user generated content, which can be a really powerful force. So in some ways, like we're going to be doing this in a lot of different ways. How do we get this user generated content going? How do we get more of it? And we talked a little bit about this, but also just ask for it. Call it out in your emails. Tag us on this. Use it here. Like make sure to follow us here and then tag us if you share something. Listening on social, going into your tagged photos on Instagram, using social listening software, maybe when your brand is mentioned. Those are all ways that you can start to grab those and borrow them, incorporate into your emails. Also, surveys and feedback. If you're asking your audience for feedback or ask them to fill out surveys at different points of the year, it's a really great way to get really intimate, good feedback really quickly, but also you can use that to get on your toes in terms of marketing because, again, they're sharing their feedback, they're sharing their perspective, and you can also use that from a marketing lens too. Reviews and testimonials, that's something you're going to be working to gather up very consistently too. A lot of times for e-commerce stores, we'll use like a service like a stamp.io and making sure to like actually request those reviews. That's going to be a really easy way to get those done. Sometimes people will run hashtag campaigns around like asking people to use a certain tag. Again, that's piggybacking off their network. That's also going to get more user generated content shared. Sometimes, again, always like have an error of like skepticism around those. Just be cautious. You don't ever want those to go down the wrong path, especially when it's a tag that you're trying to get people to use. social media can be a wild place. After spending years as director of social for a major university, I know that very well. So yeah, just word for wisdom. Um, One fast way to actually get more user-generated content also is using it. So using it in your email is going to show people how to do that and making it easy for them to see like, hey, if I share it, they may feature it here. So it just kind of primes that pump of like showing them what good behavior looks like and then rewarding them for that good behavior by sharing it through your channels. People are going to feel so warm and fuzzy about being featured there that that's going to be a win for everybody. And then also kind of making it easy for them to share. So when you share photos, you show them what you want them to share. Think about this as ways you can kind of prompt them for what you'd like to see shared. Think about it as like those like walls at a wedding, like the place where at the wedding where everybody puts on like the funny glasses, like the boa and all that stuff. Those are really easy. It gives people a way to share content from a wedding or an event, and it just makes it really simple. People don't have to guess what they're going to do there. They're going to go in front of this wall, they're going to take a silly picture, and they're probably going to share it on their social channels. Make it easy for them like that and make that process as smooth as possible. And then ask questions on social. That's another way to get a lot of feedback. Sometimes another strategy can be to like create a roundup post with a lot of responses. It's a really easy way to have some more like warm, fuzzy content that you can actually let your community build more of. And it's a really fun way to kind of take that content from social, use it to create a blog post or some type of content for your site, and then you can share that through your email channels as a piece of content marketing. So that's again ways that we can use it in a lot of different areas and get a lot of value out of it. So thinking about this in terms of logistics also, when should I be using user generated content or in my emails? So using it in our emails, thinking about this like a product launch or a product re-release. So product launches, if we're launching a new product and we have an opportunity to have people test it and experiment with it before, we want to have that feedback ahead of time so people, once it launches, feel confident and safe making that decision and feel good about that decision that they're making. Also, product re-releases where, hey, this is a product that we're bringing back after a while. Think like the McDonald's McRib strategy. Like every year they bring back the McRib and people go crazy for it. I haven't had one since like the early 2000s, but people go crazy for it. So again, if you're doing that, you want to be able to have all that user-generated content or social proof around it, like, hey, backed by popular demand, this. And that just makes it that much more sticky and exciting for people to kind of get into. Also, it gives us a nice chance for a follow-up too. So if we release a new product and it doesn't have a ton of social proof on it around it, we can follow up like a month later saying like, hey, the reviews are in, and that's a really easy way to kind of like circle back around and get some good social proof around a product to kind of like build the argument for trying that product out. Another great place to use it, again, we think it should be used in like basically all your automations to some extent, like product reviews, experience, just basically we work to incorporate social proof a lot in our automations. Like a welcome sequence is a perfect place to use it a few times, like in the like photos of the product in the wild, photos, reviews, especially if you're building into like specific use cases, like reviews for this audience, like parents, grandparents, and gift givers. Like if you can like again give grandparents like a review around a grandparent having great success with this product for their grandchild, like that's a huge win for them because hey, they feel seen and heard, and that's really a great way to kind of like again expedite that process of trust. So we want to again connect this in our automations and use them very frequently. So thinking, hey, how are we going to incorporate some type of social proof in or user generated content into our emails? That's again really fairly easy to do at that point. So thinking about how you're going to use them in automations. Then again, product, service, features, like if we're calling out like a product or service or category that we want to feature in a specific time, we can grab reviews of that product, service, or feature, and that's going to help us to kind of like add additional layers of, again, trust and credibility around those products and features, products or services, so we can really make sure that we're, again, building those out and communicating them effectively. Promotions and sales, again, if there's an item that's on sale or in that promotion that does have some social proof or user-generated content, it's a really easy way to do that too, to get some easy creative. And then again, it helps kind of balance that, but balance it so it's not like too salesy and too marketing heavy, because you have a little bit of human content on top of it too. So um, showing off use cases. So if we're calling out a product or a feature, the use cases around it and how it solves the problem of somebody in that category. When we can really kind of like illustrate that and help people see that, it's a really great way to kind of like, again, show that off. And when we want to introduce those to a new audience, that really helps. So seasonal campaigns, if somebody's used your product in like a seasonal fashion, or like if I was like a dog brand and they had a bunch of photos of like pets using my products around the holidays, or like special holiday editions of that product, like yeah, it's a really easy way to kind of like share that content. Or like if I'm a publisher, if there's people that are sharing like photos of themselves publishing like a special holiday edition of XYZ, that's a really great way to kind of share those too. But it's also a great way to do this and have content year round, because hey, next year that's content's been laying dormant for about a year now. We could probably recycle it really easily. And that's a really easy way to kind of use the whole Buffalo for user generated content. And then testimonials and reviews, like this is where again, we're wanting to highlight the positive experience people have and really help to kind of illustrate that for our audiences. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, now hopefully you guys are going to feel like total rock stars and champions of user generated content. If you don't, you'll get there. And honestly, this is an area where there's no perfect science to it. It's still kind of the wild, wild west. The more you get into it, the more you reward your community for sharing it, the more you're going to see, and the better all of this kind of user generated content flywheel is going to function for you. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully this illustrated a few points. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Again, this is Robbie Fitzwater from Marketing Rhythm, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.